Who is the host today?
I got it. I hit record. We're good.
Oh, you're in charge.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, welcome everybody to what is this? What's the office hours number we're at now? Volume 4, 5? Where are we at?
10?
4, I think. Yeah. At least in this iteration, we're probably at 30, but awesome. Well, while we're waiting for Nick to join again from the other room, today's session is going to be covering, oh, there he comes, 3.0 and PAX is the major thing we're going to be talking about today. So I was just going to be me, but I thought, who really needs to take the credit for this is Nick. And what I wanted Nick to do was start off with a high level overview of why and what we've done with the 3.0 release. And then when he's all done, I'll dive in a little deeper and show you some of the work that I've done specifically around Windows PAX.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, so there is detailed SE training that is almost complete. I promise you, I'm looking at it today. That will be going up into the LMS. That will go through everything in 3.0 with a lot more detail, as well as like videos from the developers. This is not me telling you, it is coming for real. So I just want to get that out there. I know it's an ask. We're kind of working on this. We injected an LMS portal in the middle of everything, so that a lot of that is coming.
And with us today, just so you know, Nick, we have all of our external customers are on the call. Right. So we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yeah, good. So just want to let everybody know, like, there's a lot of details coming out about this, and I'm going to find my deck real fast, and I will present.
That's a really quiet room.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is, it's still very loud for me. But it just, you can't get to your, where is it? Sorry, I've been running between meetings this morning. So there's always that like brief moment of having to readjust all of my browsers. Okay, found it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what came out in 3.0. And again, there's the changelog is the right thing to be looking at here. But I'm going to just kind of talk about like why the stuff in 3.0 is important. So that's the goal of this particular slide. Not share, wrong thing. Okay, so in 3.0, the major introductions were around PAX, right? We've also added more integrations, and I'll talk through the major ones and just right now. And then we'll talk a little bit about the data flow visualization piece as well. So PAX is what we spend the majority of our time with today. Really, PAX are portable content and knowledge that you can build within Logstream, and you can ship across any of your workers or worker groups. But also you can just share it between the community, whether it's other folks within the organization that you work in that are leveraging Logstream. You build a syslog pipeline, David's built some pipelines he'll be talking about, or if you've introduced even things like lookups that can be applied to data sources, PACs are a great way to make that very portable and make it so that you can share them and deploy them across your environment. And we will also be adding more out of the box packs, or adding packs that are available for you to consume and bring in to give you immediate knowledge within your Logstream environment. The packs channel is the place to keep an eye out for all of that. We're finishing up getting things staged and ready to go so that you can just download packs that we have built, and we have a good lineup coming. We'll talk more about that as we're ready to roll that out. As of 3.0, we should have all of the integrations, or we do have all of the integrations necessary, so you can leverage cheap data storage in all of the major cloud providers. So that is AWS S3 storage, that is Azure Blob storage, that's GCP storage or Google storage, as well as connections to things like Google PubSub, Azure Event Hub, and then Amazon Kinesis, so the ability to collect from PubSub models across the entire cloud environment. We've also added integrations in earlier versions for things like webhooks, as well as a Prometheus write data destination, and we will be adding a data source around Prometheus as well. So lots of really cool integration stuff, but gives everybody the flexibility to put the data in the cheapest place and then replay that out. So this is not just a send the data to these locations, but also collect from these locations. So two of the really cool things that are in the most recent version of Logstream are additions to our security tools. So we have a new secret store that was introduced in 3.0 that provides the ability to manage all of your user passwords, all of your certificates.
It's secret. You can't tell them.
Hey,
It's a secret
yeah.
store.
So anyway, so you can manage all of your secrets through the UI, and then you can reuse them in certain key areas. So if you have a certificate or a secret and a token that is stored for Kafka, then you'll be able to do that in one place and then use that within the source. Now, not every single data source and not every single not every place where a secret or token or password is used is connected to the secret store to start. We will be adding every single one. We just hit the key ones in the source and destination area to start. We've also added a new local key management store, but also the ability to connect to something like HashiCorp. So if you're familiar with how encryption and decryption works for Logstream, we have a Cribl.secret that exists in every worker group that handles all the encryption and decryption for the passwords and auth tokens I was just talking about, as well as any place where data is encrypted on disk. So the Cribl.secret can now be synced up to your HashiCorp vault, making it a much more secure production-ready environment. So this makes it so that a bad actor in the environment can't get a hold of that decryption tool and get access to data they should not have access to. So if you have any other security requirements, one of the things we're looking at is just making potentially an external store where we put all of our security credentials for certain customers. And we're just curious if that's a use case you're interested in before we go that route. Last two pieces before we go over to PAX. So in 3.0, we continued to build on our upgrade tools. We kept it in beta for 3.0 just because we're working through some edge cases right now around how upgrade works. But these are automated upgrade tools so you can upgrade all of your worker nodes and worker groups from the leader UI. This will give most folks a lot of time back in the course of the day, rather than having to worry about orchestrating an upgrade of all of your Logstream environments. Logstream will do it for you. We added rollback capabilities in this last release so we can control what is the default behavior. If there is a failure or difficulty in the upgrade, how do we roll back to a previous version? And then the final piece is a really cool new visualization in the monitoring tab. It's a data flow visualization, so you can see on a group by group basis, or if you're a single instance, your entire instance basis, what is the flow of data as it goes from source to destination. So as it moves through a route that's connected to a pipeline, how does it grow? How does it shrink? And what are the different routes that data is traveling? So from a single source, can I see all the different destinations it's connected to? And this is an underpinning of where we're going with Logstream. We want to give you, from a monitoring and observability perspective, we want to give all of you a chance to see how your data is moving and then where there are key bottlenecks or where there are changes in the data and being able to be more observant of your observability data. So that is high level 3.0 what went into this release. We also released cloud. So we released Logstream Cloud. It is available through the website at you can go to cribl.cloud in order to sign up for it. Would love to get everybody's logging in, using the product, giving us feedback. This is part of just expanding the ways that you can consume Logstream. We know that the world will remain, you need to get data from where you need to get data from. And this is just an expansion on our ability to deliver Logstream and Logstream-like capability wherever it is you might need. But this is a fully managed Logstream environment. Really generous free promotion to get started. So you get yourself a terabyte a day of throughput, and you can sign in today and just kind of use it. And it's really easy. And this requires no provisioning of any kind of infrastructure. We host everything. And those are the big things that we released yesterday, which as I talk about them now is a huge amount of stuff. Are there any questions? David, you're on mute.
Feel free to, use our chat if you want to ask any questions. If you want, Nick, you can turn it over to me and I'll share my screen. All right. All right. So first and foremost, I don't know everybody on the Zoom, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we have free education and certification with our sandbox.cribl.io. It covers our fundamentals, our storage and replay capabilities, our app scope fundamentals, as well as many other tutorials, including, of course, Windows production. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows sandbox.cribl.io. And as Nick mentioned, cribl.cloud, it's there, it's real, it's live. All right, let's jump in. Welcome to Logstream 3.0. New interface, stuff's over here on the side, not just across the top anymore, like your leader. You can see the workers and what their commit states are. You can see the worker groups, states of your workers, just things basically have been moved to the left with some of the things that Nick mentioned regarding things like flow. I want to visualize the flow of data as it goes from the various sources through the pre-processing, through the routes to the post-processing to the destination. You can see it as events or you can see it as bytes. This is my lab, so I don't have a lot of data here, but that's okay. Let's jump right into what I want to focus on today, which is packs. So what I'm going to do is jump into my worker group. And now you can see that we have a new menu item right here with a couple of cool looking little icons added to our menus. So we're going to jump into packs. And you can see I have packs here. And one of the things we would do, and yes, even before this release, you could export a pipeline. But if the pipeline used a lookup, you also had to give them a lookup and you had to create the lookup before you'd import the pipeline. And it wasn't packaged together, hence pack. So when one of the big asks that a lot of our customers have been wanting to get done is, do you have something that you can give me that provides me processing for vendor XYZ events? And in this case, it was Windows was my punishment, if you will. So what we have here is I've entered my pack, and I want you to think of that when I'm in normal log stream and I'm thinking about the routes that I'm in, and I'll jump over to a different group so you can see this. So instead of normally just calling out a specific pipeline, you can call out a pack. And so what happens is your route will filter on whatever filter you want to filter on for the data set, the source type, the index, whatever filter you choose. And then it's going to send the data into the pack. I jumped here because I had that already configured. Let's leave here. Now, once you land inside the pack, then it said use the Windows pack. In my case, the Windows event pack. Now you notice you are at a subordinate menu here. Routes is up here for the bigger top level log stream, but we're now entering the mini log stream world of packs, where you're not going to have sources, you're not going to have destinations. This is everything in the middle for now. Yes, additional things will be added in the future, but for right now, I want you to think of that when you enter the pack, you're passing your subset of data into the route, where then you can do additional filtering as well to match on specific types of events. Like for me, when I looked at Windows XML events, I was like, what kind of filter could I make that will guarantee that when somebody enters this pack, that it's perhaps always going to discover that, yes, this is the route that will process these XML events. And then the same thing went for classic events. And I'm making some adjustments on this as well. So basically, it's similar to what you see here. I'm going to just change it to be similar. So it just goes to the next line and looks for log name equals, because I looked across a lot of Windows events and I was trying to identify what could approach a guaranteed match at the route layer here. So this is my routes. And as you can see here, this is my sample data. We'll start with XML events. So I'm going to jump into the packs pipeline for Windows XML events. Yeah, I've commented this. I wanted to make sure that everything about this is fully documented so you can read through these comments and understand everything that's happening within this pack, because I'm not always around. I'm not always on Slack, although Michael would counter that and say I never go to sleep. But we can see here this first group of functions. this one is the big one right here. This is the function to parse XML into a better format. So rather than just show you the result, what we're going to do is we're going to step through this. I'm going to turn all of these off. Just leave, this one eval on right there. I'm going to enter the XML events, and we're going to see what they look like on their way in. They look pretty ugly. And then on the way out, they've been completely transformed with the first function into JSON. But perhaps that wasn't the whole story. We might needed to do a little bit more for this event. So for example, maybe I don't want to use SPath in Splunk or something, or maybe I don't want to work with a JSON object, or maybe I just want to clean it up and make it in kind of a data model ready format. So we're going to flatten the event, and we're going to see raw vanish. And now we have flattened fields from the nested JSON object. And then we're going to quickly rename and remove all of this prefix and keep the remainder. So you end up with nice, clean field names like this. Let's move into the next group here. So what this next one is going to do is it's going to give you the option. And what I said is pick one or the other. This is my toggle. Nick and I spoke about a toggle capability to chain them together. But the idea is maybe you're in favor of key values because that's your world and you want raw to look like a key value shape. So now you see your key value event. You see the extracted fields here, and you can see the impact we've already had on the raw event at a reduction of 52%. But if you prefer JSON, and yeah, I could have certainly done this in a single function, but my goal was really to try to make it as simple as possible for customers to pick their options and be able to show exactly the way they want with just flipping a little switch. The last piece again is what do you want to do with the extracted fields? Maybe you know the common information model and you said, there's only 6 of these fields that I actually need to keep for the common information model. You might choose to, in this eval right here, pick and choose to keep a handful of those for your T-stats. And that's what you'll see right here is now we've dropped all the other fields, but these perhaps 3 that might align to the common information model. That is my next phase of this pack development for this one, is to finish the work and look through the common information model and make sure it's perfectly compliant. If you don't want any of those fields, just drop everything. Then you'll see just the raw event. And the overall reduction for XML, 50% reduction on the XML event, 48% reduction on the storage. Last piece is just, in case in case it ever shows up as an ASCII string, I'm debating on whether or not I keep this or not, you can turn it into a JSON object, but it's not going to do anything in this case, depending on the event type and the event shape. So that is a quick review of the first pipeline in the pack. Let's jump out of that pipeline. And before I do, though, I'm going to pause for a moment. I want to know, is there anything in the Zoom chat? Are there any questions that I'm not watching because I'm not looking at the chat screen? Anyone?
No,
Okay.
David.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to jump into classic events. Classic events are the worst. I mean, they are really bad and they're huge. And so when you see them, they take up a whole page. They have a message that just never ends. They have paragraphs of text that no one ever reads, but that, even if you were sending it to Elastic, it doesn't matter where it goes. It's a lot of storage. It's a lot of space. It's a lot of license. And just taking up that amount of space, even if you weren't thinking about it from a perspective of volume or license, just unzipping these events backwards in time to just show them in a dashboard. Nobody's looking at this. So I started with the process when to shape this event, a different approach, because it did require a lot more thought process behind a simple function. Because first and foremost, this event has key and value that it starts with an equal sign. But as you move into the message, you end up with a key and a colon and a value, a different delimited version of the same event, and you finish with that paragraph. So the first thing that I did is exactly that. And I'm going to turn on, in case you didn't know you can do this, internal fields. And internal fields is going to show me the hidden stuff that you might not know exists. For example, And by the way, this is why I do this, is you don't have to clean up internal fields. If you're building and extracting fields and you're playing with them and you know they're not going to come, and you don't want to have to remember whether or not you drop them with an eval at the end, just use internal fields. And that way, when the event passes on to the next destination, these events will just disappear. So, or these, I should say, these fields will disappear. So the first thing I did is I wrote a simple regex to say, get the keys, the key values up front, that's section 1, and then get everything else, which was the message at the bottom. So you have 2 big fields. Then we have a parser function built for these key values. Why not use it? Turn it on. And what I'm saying is to parse from the key values fields using the type of key values into top level fields. When I hit save here, and then I show a lot less here, there we go, clean this up. Now you can see that the top key values have been extracted to top level fields. The next thing was, what do I do for this, the mess that's up here? The reason why I say it's a mess is when I see this as a field name, I shudder because it's got a space everywhere. And I certainly know nobody likes to have to quote every field name. So what I'm going to do here is I'm using another capability in our product. Again, using regex extract, I can just simply pull out keys and values into 2 arrays. So when I turn this on, I'll turn off these 3 so you can step through it and hit save. What you're going to see is B keys and B values below as an array. So now the keys are here and the values are here. The values are great. I don't care what they are, but I care that these keys have the space. Maybe I know that the common information model uses a union of them, or it uses an underscore between them. So this next function is going to take this array and is going to join it back up, make it into a string that's common delimited. And you'll see now that we have the keys is now a regexable, easy ASCII string that I can then process with a wonderful function. What I said here is take B keys. Every time you find a space globally within the event, replace it with an underscore. We'll turn that on. And now you'll see the underscores have been replaced the spaces. The last piece is let's turn it back into that array again so we can stitch these 2 separate things together again, because sometimes in especially JSON events, I do see separate keys and separate values. So I'm going to hit split. It's going to take this and turn it back into that array again. So now you can see it, 15 keys, 15 values. Now we got to marry these 2 together. So let's do that next. So let's see where we got that right here. Got to remember where I put it here. All right, here it is. So I handled this 2 different ways. So I'm going to start with this first group here because I wanted to make sure I could handle the message field 2 different ways. And I'll show you this in a moment here. So this is a very special capability in our product. And if you're familiar with Splunk, you're used to the MV zip command, I want you to think of that. So this is a custom Cribl function called zip that takes the 2 keys that I have here, puts them together, and this double underscore E nomenclature is that it's going to move them into the full event as a top level field. I'll manipulate that in a moment to show you something. So now that that's on, I'm going to hit save. You're going to see all of these fields explode down here. So now I have all of those keys, all of these values exploded to top level fields in the event, very clean. If I chose to, I'll take out the double underscore E and show you this, AAA, then what would happen is those fields would land in a different field stitched together in an object. I do that with the message field later, and I'll show you that to you as well. Let's put this back the way it was. Save. So the next one is serialized, which we've all grown to love. And I basically am saying, you know what, if the message field is not XML, because that was why I'm handling the 2 different use cases, then go ahead and rewrite everything back. So let's take a look. So now raw is rewritten as JSON or as whatever, key value, whatever you choose, except for you'd have to name out your header fields if it was like CSV. So a lot of flexibility there. Pick and choose the style that fits best for your organization. And the last thing was, of course, to clean up after myself is to drop any fields, clean up my workspace. So because you don't have to, I shouldn't have said drop internal fields because I'm not actually dropping internal fields. In a sense, I have double underscore. Those are, you don't need to drop them. So ultimately, when you hit save now, what I meant to do, oops, sorry, there you go. Save that, is the scratch space fields. I didn't bother with them. They don't matter. We'll go, all those fields that were underneath raw have gone away. Let me turn off internal so you can kind of see the result. And you end up with a very clean, simple, easy to read event. In the next group, the one here that I said embed, the only difference is that the message stuff that came to the top level of raw, I just kept it into a message object. So that way I kept it together just to show that these were the events that were in the outside of message, and this was message all by itself. And the remainder of this pipeline is similar, is just to clean up, drop things. And so what I'm going to do now is I will drop things and I will take the parser function. Now you see, this is where I'm talking about it being a string. I sometimes like to manipulate my fields, even if I know they're as a JSON object, and I might need to say, I want to get raw.event type without having to pull it out. And how could I manipulate that field? I simply use parser to extract from raw back to raw, and I end up with a JSON object. And now, what does that look like? It means if I said I need to work with this field to do change this value, double click it, you can copy that field name, and I'll show you below. Now I reference that field name. It's a matter of showing it like that, raw.opcode. And that's why I choose to convert things into a JSON object, because it makes it easier to reference things and work with them and change them and rename them and whatever you need to do. So that is the review of classic events, and the same thing would apply with this event if the event had XML in the message body that you see right here. And so you can see I have this turned off right now, simply turning it on. And I hope it's all correct because I was messing with everything while we were doing this. Yeah, there we go. Just basically the same exact concepts apply. Now I have all XML processing and the fields showing up in the flat and raw event. So that is a review of my pack, but there's many packs to come. We're all working hard, and hopefully our customers are going to work just as hard to create packs for lots of things. Palo Alto, AWS. I know someone's coming up with syslog, something very soon. Beyond Palo Alto. But yeah, there is tremendous amount of additional things that are going to happen. You're going to see that, and Nick can probably talk a little bit more about where those things might end up and land and where you might be able to get them from if you want to talk about that, Nick.
Yeah, great. Thanks, David. So, one of the key questions I have for this group right now is, how would you like to sort of participate and share and work together? We are building packs internally for ourselves. What we would like to do is get some rapid feedback. We think we have everything kind of going the right way, but we want to be able to provide it to you so that you can, bring it in, try out the pack, give us feedback on those things. So we're looking at things like staging all of our packs up on GitHub on the Cribl on Cribl's GitHub, and then moving to the packs channel as just a place to maybe share packs in the short term until we have official listing pages and things like that. So I'm just kind of curious, in the short term, how do you all want to work together with packs, and how can we best stay in touch to make sure that the feature itself is meeting your needs, but also that we're delivering, little Davids in a box, right? Basically, like taking the knowledge that we developed, working with customers day in, day out, and packaging it up and making it available to you immediately so that you can leverage it.
There's a nice chat from Bjorn. You want to talk to that?
Log stream base. That's great. We're totally using that.
We're leaning towards the pack dispensary, actually. We're going more,
Spencer, it's a nice
more
idea.
contemporary consumption sort of model.
But just your
Not
note,
the pack house.
I mean, yeah, it was really hard in the Splunk-based world to provide feedback, to suggest a better improvement, or the Windows TA wouldn't look as messy as it is today.
Yeah.
So
That is more diplomatic than I could have said it.
having this in Git will give you the ability to contribute, to check out branches, to improve things, to be able to provide your improved, new, better version of David Maislin's horrible Windows pack, whatever you want. I think this is what we've all been wanting. So I hope this is going to work well with the LogStream ecosystem. What do you guys think so far?
Awesome, David.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Can I ask a question about functionality though?
Of course.
Sure.
Sorry, I had my camera off. Are there any negative, side effects of us reformatting and changing a Windows log? I mean, what are our customers, if Splunk is an example, what are they doing with enterprise security and other apps that are today assuming that data is in a particular format? How would you address that?
No, great question. It's not like I haven't heard that one a lot. So this is where I'm at today. I've gotten the event, I've beaten it up. It's now submitted to my will. It's in shape. I can see everything super clean. The next piece is there's 31 lookup tables in the Windows TA. I'm going to turn that into maybe 5 because the rest of the lookup tables have 2 entries in them. That's kind of corny. So I'll enrich. I will add them to the tstats, the extracted fields. Then I'm going to dive into the aliasing and common information model because there's a lot of thoughts here. I mean, people are held hostage to the Windows TA that's 13 years old. And if I don't address it in our product, I can't tell people stop using the TA. See, that's what keeps me up lately. I'm like, how do I get there? Aliasing in our product is not really aliasing per se, right? It's another extracted field, right? So I believe
That's exactly why I asked the question. Windows logs are critical to most organizations. They're already in place. They're already being consumed. So yeah, you're right on it there.
Yeah, so I am working with quite a few customers right now that are working with me, and they've provided me these events to build this, to test this on the right side of the equation when it lands at that destination, to see if I can make it maybe 95% perfect. Like maybe there won't be something that I can do. Maybe there will. Maybe, and Nick, kill me here. Maybe it's me adding a new LogStream TA for Windows. I hate to say it that way, but there are some things that make sense to land on the Splunk side still, like aliasing as a good example. That's about it. I hate to say it that way, but I really feel like we should be able to get 95% of everything fixed up and ready to work perfectly fine in a Windows environment.
You mean like changing the source type back to what it was?
Yeah.
That killed me. Oh man, sorry. I had a flashback. Yeah, I owned the Windows TA for about a year, and then it was transferred over, and that change was made shortly thereafter, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, but if any of you, right on the Cribl community, David at cribl.io, want to give me your worst, send me your worst. I need more events. It's hard to make something perfect without a lot of contributions from you guys. I would love to collaborate with all of you.
So
Big thing is just normalizing it so that you
can
can use it in the other tools. Once it's normalized against the SIM data model, ES doesn't care what format the actual log is in.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not that data model is perfect.
Yeah, just the first 20 lines of the props.conf alone will tell you why it's frustrating because of the amount of aliasing and renaming and the way they did things in the TA. But yeah, I'm going to work on it. I look forward to your guys' feedback, and can't wait for people to try it out.
And event types, I mean, you know the problem, so yeah.
Yeah, and in the spirit of that collaboration, that's why we're going to be putting our work up on GitHub. Like the things that we build at Cribl for LogStream from a pack perspective, we're not going to hide it behind a bunch of layers. It'll be available for everybody to make pull requests, to be able to make comments. We're just staging that up. It's first time for us to do this kind of thing in a big way. So we're figuring it out, putting a few standards around what our packs look like and what details they provide, but those will start coming out. And that's my number one goal here, is that we create a robust community that actually works to build something together rather than trying to hide our work behind a really opaque process.
And remember, in case you didn't see it in the chat for Zoom, the PAX room in Cribl community, this community Slack, that's what it is. Please join the PAX channel and collaborate with us, please.
There was a question from Lee. I'm kind of interested to get more context on, Lee, if you're around. But it was the asking for any future taking a config property sheet for a pack. So like, yeah, help me understand kind of what you're thinking about here.
So what I was thinking is that you offer the pack in GitHub, and I'm pleased to hear that. And let's say that there's some options. I mean, you did show some of the options of turning XML or JSON processing and all of that stuff back off and on, and that's cool. But I can imagine you might have some configuration items that you might want to express. So you install the thing and it's got like 6 configurations that you can pick. The little property sheet with values. Think like a Splunk dashboard. You could add things at the top. So is there? It's just a suggestion. If you added that, then now your abstraction of a pack has an interface for configuration.
Yeah. So there's 2 things here. So in the first, I think a good way to explore this would be using environment variables wherever possible, and then locally you can change the environment variables. That would also make it nice on a per group basis, because the variables would. So a pack can import from the system. The system, we do not export out from the pack to the system, right? So packs are fairly isolated. We are working on an interface so they can talk to one another and talk to the system. Environment variables would be a good way to go. So if you need to put in a couple of key things, that would be a good way to sort of make that form available. Not ideal. The next thing is like, okay, you need to fill in these 7 or 8 attributes because we don't know enough about the local changes to make that assumption. So I think that will happen when we add sources and destinations completely, right? So the next wave of packs, we have a lot of improvements for distribution. So being able to say like connect to a CDN or a repo and just pick up updates from that pack and upgrade on a regular basis across large environments, but also the ability to export in bulk. That's another thing we're looking at. And then the next phase kind of after those management pieces is adding sources and destinations, event breakers, data gens, all of that kind of stuff. And that will absolutely require some sort of abstraction where the user will give input as a part of the pack settings that are local to that particular place where the pack is installed. So I think there's ways we can kind of get there right now, but that'd be a good thing for like, as we work on a pack where that's a requirement, we can play around with the global variables and see.
And David's hacky way, of course, is we have an eval function, just add it at the top of every pipeline and set whatever you need to set at the very top as the very first function. Just a thought.
Yeah. So I can see the physics of how it would work. I'm looking at, we have a large amount of data volume and a large number of internal applications. I'm with Yahoo Mail. And so I would be looking at developing packs for internal use for each of our large subsystems, and I'd love to be able to offer a configurable interface so we can make horizontal things and let people plug in their what's your metric name of the golden metric, that type of thing.
That'd be great. Yeah. So if you start sketching that out, like please ping me in the packs channel or any one of us so we can kind of break it off and get those use cases into the backlog. That's exactly like we put out like the minimal foundational product that solves the problem that we were looking at immediately, which is just transportation of knowledge around a large environment and sharing of knowledge in the community. And then the next is really that operationalizing this thing so you can add those tools so that external users can consume the pack and then also configure it specifically for their needs.
Cool, thank you.
Hey, this is Gab. I noticed that there was not a preview full, there's only a preview simple. Was there a design decision behind leaving the preview full out of the packs?
Packs don't have sources and destinations to send to. So you do preview full outside of the pack.
Ah, okay.
You
Back-
connect the pack like a pipeline to the route, right? And so you
Mhm.
can preview full out from there. And we get that the UX is not ideal, but we're bringing sources and destinations into the future version. So
Good to
that
see you, Gov.
functionality should come in.
Gov and I go way back.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there. It's just a one click out. And we're also working as a navigation up, like, working on ways to make sure the workflows are really steady so you know where you're working and you can get all that functionality in one place.
And is the way for me to export, is it the same way? I usually from my dev into production, I do go to advanced and copy the whole pipeline in. Is the pack going to be available the same way, or is it going to be a bunch of files, like download the zip onto my desktop and then upload it into production?
I'll share it with you again so you can see it. Okay. So when you're in the packs, if you were, let's just remove hello packs here so you can see it. So imagine you built a pack and you were giving it to somebody else. A pack is a bundle of everything. And yeah, before that, you and we shared a lot together. I shared your pipelines and you would have to do one at a time.
Mhm.
So when you add a pack, you just import the whole pack, which includes everything in a bundle. So you just
Okay.
add it. You don't have to, by the way, you don't have to type anything here. It'll just assume the native name. It imports the pack, and there's your pack. Once you enter the pack, it's bundled with everything you need. Your routes, your pipelines. There it is right there. Your knowledge objects, which was difficult before, very difficult actually. I mean, every time I'd send a customer a pipeline that referenced a lookup, we would have to first create the lookup, then import the pipeline, or it would fail. So all of these goodies, you can see them right here. This is part of the pack, the parsers, the global variables, the things you were working in recently with global variables, with your wonderful arrays you were working on,
Mhm.
regexing, everything is here.
Okay.
Make sense?
Excellent, yes. And will you be sharing this Windows pack after this call? Because it's fresh in my head when I see the video. I'd like to play with it right away to reinforce certain things that I learned. So
I'll give it to you as a buyer beware clause because I'm not done, but I'm happy to share with you and get your feedback. I'm happy to share with anybody because that's what I'm always about. Sharing is caring, right? I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, and if everybody's cool with it, if we can do like this is an early version buyer beware thing, I'm happy to maybe post some other ones into the patch channel just to get started, right? Because I don't want to slow anybody down.
One
So
more thing I forgot to mention, Nick. When you're in a pack, if you need to know more about the pack, I'll leave this pack and go to mine so you can see it. Here we go. Is make sure that you go to settings, or oops, I left the pack again. I do this too much. All right, Windows events, settings right here, and you have a README file that explains everything about the pack, the warnings, the caveats. Make sure that you know that this README file exists under settings within the pack. I thought that was very important to make note of.
okay.
Related to the earlier subject of rewriting the Windows TA or whatnot, as some of you have seen in the chats, I've been dealing with the pan logs and reducing the fields on that. And what I ended up doing after some discussion is just splitting up the fields, removing some of them and reconstituting. So yes, I have a bunch of extra commas in there that shouldn't be there. But the nice thing is I basically just replaced the index time part of the Palo Alto TA. And at least so far testing in dev, it looks like from there on, the Palo Alto TA is picking everything up, doing all the aliasing, like doing everything it would with a normal unchanged log. So we got the field reduction without having to do a bunch of rewriting of stuff. So far, it seems good.
And I agree. And thanks for pointing that out because people are always, unsure about CSV. Like, why does it write out a bunch of blanks, commas? Because you have to provide the data dictionary. You have to. I mean, otherwise, when the events land on the other side, somewhere in data analytics land, you have no idea what that means because it's not a key and a value, it's just the value. So having the extracted fields below of the fields that matter most and keeping the most minimal with a whole bunch of blank commas, yes, in the raw event is an absolutely perfect way to do it. So yeah, you've nailed that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if that's something that would fly with the Windows side of things, but
No, I'm not that fortunate, but I think I'm pretty good with key value in JSON and minimizing whatever the common information model is going to require. Anybody that's super Windows, because it's certainly not me, let me know if you want to work with me on a Zoom. I'd be happy to finish off the common information model side, because that's a beast too as well. I would love it if somebody wants to jump in and volunteer with me. Anyone else? Any questions? Anything else?
Yeah, so David and Nick, so yeah, Ranan and I work with Lee and Vicky for the Yahoo Map team, as you guys probably know. Yeah, I think Lee, if I'm speaking for you, I think he had a number of other enhancement requests like drillable, Sankey, visual, etc. So yeah, I mean, I Nick, just for you, so to connect the the face and the os. So I think we're going to follow up more at the back end.
Yeah, so with the Sankey diagram, we do expect to put drill downs into it, as well as more details to get bytes as well as events. It's all events right now. It's early version of that. So feedback is welcome. You can do it in feature requests. You can also go through customer success or through the other the other paths to get the requests in through your SEs, account team, that sort of thing. And we'll take a look at it. So I think we have a lot of it probably on the roadmap, but would love to get feedback there. Yeah, I'm expecting it. That's a great view.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd love to get my hands on this and start trying it out.
Cool. Great.
Hey, Lee. Good to see you again.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, this has been an exciting session. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Okay. Well, I guess we can stop recording too.
Well, first, what's the next office hours in 2 weeks? We have a lot of scroll back in office hours. So I'm trying to find tips and tricks for moderate to advanced users, hosted by Momo.
There you go.
That is in 2 weeks, right?
That's the plan.
All right, great. So see all y'all back here then.
Bye, everyone. Great to see everybody again.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.